It's the NFL offseason, and one of the biggest questions is, where does LeVeon Bell go? That's what we're talking about today. What is going on, Headliner Nation? Welcome back. Next episode of the Fantasy Headliners, and I'm joined by a different face here. Me doing a first-time show here with Mr. Ryan O'Connell, our hashtag DFS wizard, if you want to call it. I've given him a bunch of different names here in a short amount of time, but we're going to have some fun today. I brought him on here today to discuss what we think is going to happen with LeVeon Bell here in the offseason. Where does he land? What are some potential landing spots? And how does that affect fantasy football in 2019? Ryan, how are we doing today?
Doing very well, Jake. Thanks for having me on today. Yeah, there's a lot of implications with LeVeon Bell, lots of rumors going on, and we're here to talk about cap space and what moves actually make sense and how they'll affect his fantasy outcome in 2019.
Yeah, we all know that LeVeon Bell wants like $3 shy of a buttload in his contract, so there's only a few teams out there that really can afford him. But just because they can afford him, does that mean that he becomes fantasy relevant? I mean, obviously more than last year. I mean, he had 0 points last year, so anything's going to be an improvement. But what do you see as some of the top options out there that have the cap space available to afford a LeVeon Bell?
Well, when I'm taking a look at the cap space here, it really comes down to 5 teams. It comes down to the Jets, who have $95.3 million, the Bills, $79.9, the Raiders at $71, Texans at $77, and the Colts at $107 million in cap space. Now, a couple of these teams really have the running back need. That's the Raiders, Bills, Jets, and obviously the Texans if they want to be a possible playoff and Super Bowl contender. The Colts, not so much. They have Marlon Mack and they have Nyheim Hines, so they have plenty of talent there. So I'm not sure they're really willing to pay up. But the rest of the teams, I definitely think they'll take a stab at him.
Absolutely. And as much as I don't want him to go to one of those top few teams that you named from a fantasy perspective, if he can land in a Houston for a fantasy football landscape, he all of a sudden gets catapulted right back up to where he probably belongs in the top couple picks.
I would take him number 1 overall.
I mean, it would be something where you'd have to take a look at it. I mean, I like Zeke a lot coming up this year again. But yeah, he automatically catapults up there to the top. With the Colts, though, to me, it's a business, right? And as much as I believe that Marlon Mack is a good enough running back for the system they have there, I think LeVeon Bell takes them to another level. And depending on what happens in the upcoming draft, what would we do if the Colts go out there and they acquire a LeVeon Bell, and then they go in the draft and they acquire one of the top wide receivers in the draft to put opposite of T.Y. Hilton, maybe like a N'Keal Harry, a DK Metcalf, something like that. What do we do then with all of a sudden that offense, which was already dangerous? Next year they get back Jack motherfucking Doyle, and they already got Eric Ebron, who's going to regress like nobody else's business. But they're going to have a solid offense with numerous pieces. They'll still have Nyheim Hines. I love the Colts if they go out and get LeVeon Bell. I think right now they're kind of a dark horse type pick because they don't need him as much as some of the other teams.
Right.
But
Absolutely.
Personally, if he goes to Indianapolis, I may have Chubb.
I have Chubb. I got Chubb. I mean, just the way you were talking about it, you're so enthusiastic. You sold me. Like, sign me up for the Colts next year. I might have to take a prop bet on that. But here's the real question. All right, so they signed LeVeon Bell. What will they do with Marlon Mack or maybe even Nyheim Hines? Do they trade him? Do they cut him? Or is it a running back by committee now?
I don't think that they just cut him. I think he's too productive to be cut. I think he becomes expendable.
Right.
I also wouldn't put it past him to keep all of them. I mean, look where a lot of the teams are going nowadays. A lot of people have 2 or 3 deep. Look what happened in the playoffs with Todd Gurley and C.J. Anderson.
Absolutely. Yeah, if you don't have that premier running back as a backup, you're kind of SOL.
Yeah, and LeVeon Bell is somebody who we're used to seeing that 20 to 30 touches in Pittsburgh, but just because Pittsburgh used him that way doesn't mean another team is going to use him that exact same way. I wouldn't put it past them to keep all 3 of them if they could afford it, which obviously the Colts can afford it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, the reason why I like the Texans so much is they still have Deshaun Watson under rookie contract. Now, you bring in a couple rookie draft picks along with LeVeon. Now they're Super Bowl contenders with that elite defense behind them. And with J.J. Watt, with only a couple more years left in his career, I mean, maybe they make a push for it.
Yeah, I mean, in some of the mock draft videos we've done here over the past couple of weeks, which if you haven't seen, go check them out. Almost every mock draft we're going to do this entire offseason is going to include offensive linemen going to Houston. One of the biggest problems they've had there is protecting Deshaun Watson and getting a run game going. If they can fill some of those needs in the draft at offensive line, I agree. The Texans are another team that could be absolutely dangerous. That defense is already, I can say elite, but they're elite on a week-to-week basis. It just depends which defense shows up there in Houston, but definitely the top two as far as a fantasy perspective. Now let's talk about the other teams, because the Jets name comes up a lot. You said the Jets, the Raiders, and what was the other team that you had there?
The Buffalo Bills.
Oh, Lord help us,
For
please
the love
no.
of God, please no.
If he goes to Buffalo, I may never watch the NFL again. But, I mean, that's a different story. Buffalo, I'm pretty much going to count out right away. I can't see Le'Veon Bell having any interest in Buffalo.
I hope not.
The Jets is somewhat intriguing. I mean, he gets the big market-ish type, deal. He would be the man there for the Jets. They have a young quarterback, but if he wants to go somewhere and win right away, I don't know if the Jets are going to be that destination for him. The Raiders, I think the Raiders may be slightly underrated right here, because with the move coming up to Las Vegas, do they try to make a few big-name signings to go out there and acquire a Le'Veon Bell? In one of the mocks we just did, we actually played out the scenario of Kyler Murray being traded up for and Oakland taking him number 1 overall, which a lot of people think is crazy. But, with rumors out there that the Cardinals could trade Josh Rosen, which they came out and said, no, we're not going to. But you never know. Where there's smoke, there's fire. If that were to happen, I could see the Raiders making a slight move to try to get that fan base energized, just to get butts in the seats when they go to Vegas.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're Jon Gruden, you got all these draft picks, so you can go out there and get all this young talent, and now you got a centerpiece like Le'Veon Bell to build around, and you're bringing Kyle Murray on top of that. I mean, I'm already excited just thinking about it. I mean, and if you're moving out to Las Vegas, which is obviously a premier destination, you got to get a new fan base riled up. That's a great way to do it.
Where's a better place for Le'Veon Bell to go party in the clubs and make rap videos than Las Vegas? I mean, there's not very many better options out there for him. It fits the scenario. On a fantasy perspective, not so much. It doesn't really excite me as much, but I think it's a definite possibility where he could go somewhere, kind of be the face of a franchise to start off a new beginning there in Las Vegas. Now, if you had to today, and I know this is still early, it's still February, what does your gut tell you that he ends up?
My gut tells me it's going to come down to the Houston Texans or the Indianapolis Colts for primarily one reason. He's 26 years old, so he's still kind of in his prime, but for running backs, they definitely decline on a very younger age. So for him, I think he's going to want to be part of a team that has a chance to go out and win a championship, or at least have a shot at it. He can only really do that with the Colts and the Texans. Now, if he wants to go out there and just get paid a buttload of money, you're going to go sign up with the Jets or the Bills and get tons of carries and usage, and you might blow out your knee because everyone's going to be targeting you. But if you want to win a ring, which I think everyone does, then you got to go sign with the Texans or the Colts.
Yeah, absolutely. And the one good thing about him is he's had a year off, so he's fresh. I mean, it's not like he's coming
super
back.
Fresh.
He's super fresh. You're going to be getting a guy that's more than energized and more than capable of that huge workload that we're used to seeing with Le'Veon Bell. Last season that he played there in Pittsburgh, he had 321 carries for 1,291 yards and then added in 85 receptions. He had usage out the yin-yang, but now he's had a year to be refreshed. So no matter where he goes, he should be good to go. They're just going to have to pay him a lot of money. It's going to be something interesting. I know I'm going to be looking forward to it here over the offseason. And as soon as any news comes out, either myself or Ryan or Kyle or somebody's going to be sure to hop on here in a video to kind of give you the quick breakdown when we actually get some more legit news out there. But in the meantime, hit us up down below in the comment section. Where do you think Le'Veon Bell land? Where do you want Le'Veon Bell to land? If you had your choice, where does he go? There's a lot of speculations out there, and it's really fun to talk about it and see other people's opinions. And like usual, we're one of the most interactive, YouTube channels out there when it comes to fantasy sports. We want to hear your opinion, and we want to comment back and forth with you. If this is your first time visiting the channel, make sure you hit that subscribe button, and then leave us a comment down below. We'd love to be able to welcome you to Headliner Nation. It's been fun here sitting and talking about the possibilities. We're getting a little excited here from a fantasy perspective, because even though we're talking about it. We still have a few months to go. The NFL draft here is coming up in April. Combine coming up here in just a couple weeks. A lot of news is going to be coming out here in the near future. Ryan, thank you for coming on today. I appreciate your input. And we will definitely be doing this again because, like I said, a lot of news coming up here in the off season. You guys have a great rest of your week, and we'll talk to you later. Thanks.
See you guys.